Oh, yeah. Oh. All right, perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intelligence Briefing Live, What's the Buzz, where leaders and hands-on experts share how they have turned hype into outcome. Thanks for bearing with us a little bit longer to get this started. As you know, this is a live show, which is running into a few technical issues that we've just sorted out. So, hey, today we'll talk about a pragmatic approach to automation. You cannot hear me.
No sound.
That's not good. Can everybody else hear me? No? Oh, it's not. That is not good. Is this better? 1, 2, 3? No?
Andreas, there's no sound for me.
Yeah. Okay, let
There's
me.
no sound, no sound.
I am really sorry. You can hear me, okay. Let's give this another try. So hope all of you are doing well. I know many of you in the automation space have been traveling last week and have maybe even met face to face. It's to have Maxim on, but like I said, running through some technical challenge, bearing with us here. Good comment, Tim. Starting out like any good automation project, of course, as soon as technology is involved. So let's give this one more chance. That's what I like about the community, right? A good amount of humor here. Perfect. Let's see if Maxim is able again. Hey, Maxim.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Now.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I dialed. It may not be perfect, but at least it works.
Excellent. Then let's do this. Awesome. Hey, have you on? I know we'll talk about taking a pragmatic approach to AI, and to talk to then you, Maxim Ioffe. Maxim, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Max Ioffe, and I lead the Global Intelligent Automation Center of Excellence for WESCO Distribution. We are a Fortune 200 company. We are in 50+ countries. We are about 18,000 employees strong. And our mission is to build, connect, power, and protect the world. And in doing so, we are partnering with about 50,000 suppliers, hundreds of thousands of customers, selling millions of products. And if there is one thing to know about wholesale industry and our company in particular, the way we stay relevant to the market is we are trying to provide the extra services, the customized services, the additional value that is going strictly against the RPA mantra and the intelligent automation mantra of finding highly repetitive process with as few variations as possible. We are just the opposite. We have a ton of variations, and that's how we do the business. And that's what sort of drives us to be as pragmatic as possible in order to stay successful.
So great to see how you're doing that at scale in that business and scaling that as well. So because we unusual setup than normal, let's lead to our icebreaker question. Usually we would run the buzzer in that question, but I'll ask you straight away. If AI were a book, what would it be?
Good question. I'm kind of thinking of the nonfiction aisle, but I'm okay. Let's do this. You know those coffee table size art books that you see in museum gift shops or bookstores, and they have a lot of high quality pictures printed on the glossy paper, and they have a lot of text. And sadly, a lot of us open that book and go right straight to the pictures, look at the pictures, get the emotional response from it, whether it's excitement, where it's a little bit scare, where it's a little bit offsetting, or making us happy, whatever that is. There's a lot of great text in those books, but not too many of us read through it, and very few of us read the entire text. I think AI is that book.
Awesome. So definitely a lot of text, but we love the pictures. Awesome. So hey, why don't we go straight to our time for the meat of this session? You know, I feel automate already sounds pretty straightforward. Right? It's a way of having a machine do some tasks that otherwise. So in itself, that already sounds pretty pragmatic. But why do you say to stress that word pragmatic? Why does it matter so much to you?
Well, to me, again, sort of sticking to that book analogy for another sec, we are looking at the automation programs, whether it includes AI or it doesn't, from many different lenses. One of those lenses is trying to evangelize, trying to ultimately generate the pipeline, trying to talk about the capability, and also those pictures in the book. And that's super important to have great pictures, right? It's super important to generate the pipeline. Anybody who found themselves once without the pipeline, who drives the automation center, knows the feeling. And it's not a good feeling to have when you sit in there saying, okay, I got this great technology, I got this great organization, I hired the people, everything is great, but I have no project to work on, right? So evangelizing is a key. But then it comes to, how do you evangelize what you can actually build? How is that text that's in that book going to connect with the users and with the pipeline that I can generate? It's great to generate the excitement, but how can I execute it? And the third component to it, when we sell a book, when we talk about those book items, the question becomes, what's the ROI, right? You write the book, you create the book in order to sell the book, in order for people to see it. The ROI, the utilization, the value it creates is what ultimately matters. Those are the three components that drive our pragmatic approach. I was just at UiPath's Forward event last week, and there was a big room dedicated to how to evangelize and how to theater. And there was a really big room, very well packed. I had the pleasure to present from stage in that room. And that was great. There was equally big room dedicated to technology. And again, tons of folks, really great examples, really great success stories. And then there was a workshop on how to measure the ROI of the program. And that workshop was in a much smaller room, a lot less attendees, and a lot less excitement about it. And that was what sort of drove me to say, hey, we got to be pragmatic. We got to make sure that it's important to talk about it, that ultimately our success is in how pragmatic we are in being able to deliver the results. When we deliver results, if they resonate with the business, we're guaranteed to get more pipeline. And in a nutshell, that's what pragmatic approach is to me.
Fantastic. So definitely keep it also relevant to the business then. I think that an aspect of building the pipeline, or maybe even your COE, finding yourself with a dried up pipeline or no pipeline, it's a very important and relevant one. How have you gone about building that pipeline specifically? What can you share?
Right, that's a great question. And I think for us, the pipeline comes from three different directions. Again, we are trying to make sure that we always have plenty of pipeline and plenty of excitement. And If there is one thing for sure is that pipeline does not build itself. You got to work for it. You got to constantly engage. We do it from three different directions. Top-down approach is having the leadership team identify the opportunities, bring the opportunities to us. And a big chunk of that is educating that leadership team so they know what's possible. They know what kind of opportunities we can tackle. They know what the technology is capable of doing. This is where that book with pictures come into play again to get the executive team excited and give us the pipeline. The other approach that we take is bottom-up approach. How do we work with citizen developers? How do we work with folks on the level of doing the tasks to help us to generate the pipeline? Ultimately, they're the ones who control utilization. If somebody is bringing us an idea and says, hey, can we automate that? Three things are guaranteed. One, they're way past the fear of automation. They're not feared to bring an opportunity to us, and that's great, right? The second part that is guaranteed is that they are going to use that automation. They're the ones who created it. They're the ones who advocated for it. They're the ones who are going to promote that automation. And the other thing that's guaranteed, the third thing, is that they're going to be pretty flexible about building this automation. And that's where I've seen COEs that are driven strictly by the specs. You have a lot of layers in between the users and the developers. And developers build to the spec, and we measure success in building to the spec. We don't do that. We measure to the need of the business. And our developers are not afraid and actively coming back to the business saying, hey, guys, if we could tweak your process a little bit, it would make the automation that much more effective. Can we talk about it? Can we see it? And I guess as users feel that they own the automation, as users feel that they're the ones who are making the recommendations and who are in charge, they're much more flexible about changing the project. Coming to the team saying, hey, I'm from corporate, I want to change your process, I want to automate your process, is not going to get us there. This is where, for us, this top-down and bottom-up approaches are the key, but equally important is going sort of horizontally. We are a lean company. We have big focus on lean in our operations, as well as digital transformation teams. I work very closely with both to make sure that we can design for automation, where if we do a lean Kaizen, if we look at the process, if we're trying to rebuild the process from scratch or tweak the process, we are doing it in an automation-friendly way. Maybe we'll not put automation into it right away, but we are designing the process with an understanding that this is the area where automation can inject itself and make a difference. So by hitting the pipeline from all three of those angles and by creating the excitement, we are able to move forward fairly well. The other thing on the pipeline front is that we are really trying to shift the paradigm of who owns the automation. A lot of times you would come in and say, hey, I build the automation, I got the specs from the users, and then I take it from there, I build it, I own it, I pride myself on it. We're trying to approach it a little bit differently. We're saying, look, ultimately, every automation is built for a reason. It's built for an employee to execute. It's built for the business to be successful. Let them be the owners. Let them be decision makers. Let them be the drivers. We're just there to help them to build that automation. It's a global center of excellence. We are jacks of all trades and masters of none. We get pipeline from accounting and finance, and I'm not a CPA. We get pipeline from HR, and I don't know too much about that aspect of it. We get pipeline from sales, operations, inventory, and all the other things. Yeah, we have enough common sense to get a gist of what they're trying to do, but we're not experts, right? So let the experts drive us. Let the experts tell us what they need. Let the experts decide what makes sense. We'll follow the experts. We will allow them to be the leaders and the drivers. And what it does, it creates a success story for the expert. The folks in accounting, finance, or sales, or operations, or what have you, build the automation. They feel great about that automation. They claim that success to their managers. Those success story end up presented to the greater organization, not by us, but by those teams. And of course, they mention who built it, and of course, we get more pipeline and more accolades from it. But the most important part for us is to make sure that the business feels the ownership, the business have it, and the business can drive that. That's what sort of becomes a big part of our pragmatic call. Is it's not about I'm good, I'm great. It's not about feeding my ego. It's not about bringing the technology to the company. It's about solving the real problems for real people with their help, with their engagement, with their guidance. with their leadership. We are there to help and support. And that approach allows us to have no shortage of the pipeline. I'm very comfortable sitting here saying pipeline is not an issue for us as far as generation. Pipeline is more of an issue for us in terms of how quickly we can implement it.
Right, right. Awesome. That sounds like when you can pick and choose or have a backlog of things to work on. You mentioned this implicitly, I feel, but what does success look like if you say you want the business to be the driver and the owner? How are you measured then? Does it look like for you and for the COE?
Right. Well, there are multiple metrics of success, and we're trying to be very one of the success stories that we had is we were smart to define the success early on in the journey. We started out by saying, this is how we measure the value. Our key indicators are going to be time saved, where somebody used to do the work manually and they no longer have to, plus value created, where we have tasks that were not done manually because nobody has the resources and time to do it, and we were able to create that capacity and address those tasks. And then what we do is we have a framework that validates that success. We are going to the stakeholders and do sort of freeway validation. One part of that validation is, does the business, the SME, agree to that number? Do I agree with the number? And does the CFO organization agree with this number? So we have the framework and we have these checks. And I've had instances when folks come to me and say, we're a team of 4 and we're going to build the automation that is going to save us 10,000 hours. And I say 10,000 hours is lovely, but you're a team of 4, you don't have 10,000 hours to save. And what are you going to do when you implement that, right? So maybe it's not saving time, maybe it's extra capacity, maybe we need to go back. It gives us the ultimate credibility to define it. And those numbers and the ROI, if you will, is a big part of our success. The other big part of our success is employee education, making sure that folks trust us to automate. There's no fear of losing jobs. There's no fear of automation and AI. And that's super important for us. We try to make it as accessible, as user-friendly as possible. And ultimately, it's the change of business. The mission of our company is to build, connect, power, and protect the world. How does our program help that? How do we stay aligned with the strategy and the mission? That's a big part of our success criteria as well.
Fantastic. I think that's always good to make it tangible, right? It sounds great to say, we power the business and work closely with them, or even give more ownership to them, but then they translate into some measurable objectives and maybe savings on other parts. So thanks for sharing that. Now maybe for our last question, you had already mentioned some things when we spoke a couple of weeks ago. How will this come together? What's a great example from the work that you're doing that's successful, and what can others learn from it?
Right. Well, staying with pragmatic theme, one of the examples I can bring is trying to, we're in supply chain. If anybody has been awake for the last couple of years, supply chain has been in news all the time, and between supply chain disruptions, supply chain crisis, and whatever else it's been called, we're in the middle of that. And again, trying to stay pragmatic and consistent with the mission, we were trying to figure out the ways to help our partners to get a little bit better visibility of the product, where the product is, and where we are able or unable to meet the commitments that we make to our partners. Part of that was building a framework where we are trying to figure out where the product is by pulling the data from our partners and injecting it into our own systems. We're a company of multiple ERP, so it got to be injected into multiple places, and then reporting back to the customers, explaining here's where we could be jeopardizing their orders and here's what we can do to help. Starting the conversation not after the fact when it's too late and we already missed the commitment, but way before the fact, where we can still make a difference. In order to do that, we sort of bucketized the suppliers into multiple categories. We figured those that can provide data through EDI, API, and other integrations, that's great. We don't need to change that. But out of 50,000 suppliers that we partner with, not everybody is capable of doing it. So what we did is we started looking at one supplier at a time, trying to figure out what's the best way to extract the data. In some cases, it would be going into their web portal. In some cases, it's receiving the report from their sites and doing something with it. So we enlisted our citizen developers to build those little bots that connect to individual partners and extract the portion of the data. Each one of them is fairly simple. The steps to get to the data are usually 10, 20, 30 clicks and a bunch of types. Not that difficult, but there are a lot of them. And those are exactly the things that citizen developers can do very effectively. So we built a framework where a citizen developer can plug in any partner they want very, very easily. We have over 100 partners plugged in that way. But then our Center of Excellence built other automations that would take that data, compare it to what we currently have in our systems, identify their material change has occurred, put that data back into our system. So again, think about 10, 15, 20 different processes embedded into the steps I just described, and then create the data and prescriptive analytics that our team need to engage with customers and solve the problem. We build all that as a collaboration of many citizen developers, many, as well as Center of Excellence bots in many departments. And the cool thing about it, we didn't build it all at once. We rolled it out as it was ready. So the first piece was rolled out to just update the ERP system. Great. And then we have more data to upgrade the ERP system, even better. And then there is a bot that extracts the data from ERP and creates a report. Lovely, let's do that. By taking this phased approach, we were able to deliver the results rather quickly. And we have a framework where we can partner with 100, 1,000, however many partners we need to partner with to extract the data and get the results. Again, it's all about the scalability. It's all about doing it at speed, not waiting for the perfect process that will never come, not waiting for the most complicated solution, just doing what we can and getting those tangible results as quickly as possible. If that's not keeping it pragmatic, I don't know what would be.
Thanks again for sharing that example. Again, always good to hear how companies are going about these things and where the opportunities lie.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sure.
Pleasure.
So maybe can you quickly summarize the top 3 takeaways for our, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, for me, the 3 key takeaways would be, first of all, the pipeline, right? You've got to have the pipeline. And in order to have the pipeline, you got to have the culture and awareness. And the culture and awareness comes from educating the employees. It comes from doing the great presentation. We started with the booklets. And there as well, having that book ready where the text is solid and the pictures are solid really helps to evangelize and then deliver on that. And it's a circle where you evangelize the ideas, you implement those ideas, you have this solid way of measuring value and results. And that value and results is a success story that helps with culture and awareness. That helps with the pipeline. That gives you more things to implement, present more value, and the cycle continues. Staying in that cycle and having a consistent model, keeping it very pragmatic, where we don't go after technology, we go after results, and technology is a way to get there, is what I think helped our success. And I think that's a very scalable example that can help anybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And also thanks to folks in the audience for had a bit of a rough start, but I really appreciate also seeing all the great comments in the chat. It was a little different format, a little more improvised than usual. Thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your expertise, Maxim, and for those in the audience.
Thank you very much for having me, and sorry for the technical difficulties. Hope it came out all right. Thank you all.
I'm sure it did. So, folks, thanks again. See you next time for another round of What's the Buzz. Bye-bye.
Thank you.